I
Cool.
got you.
I'm actually, even though this might sound weird, just from what you might know of me or what you might see of me online, I'm actually an introvert.
Yeah.
So, but
Ah,
I'm sort of an extroverted introvert. And so I've been fine with all of this. I've been happy to be a
yeah.
homebody. I've got an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. I got a
Yeah.
husband, like for the first time ever. I know where all three of them are all the time. They love me here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
But
keeping tabs on everybody. I don't have to have my head on swivel. Like, I've liked this.
yeah, but it's funny with that, with everything slowing down, you can focus on what's important. And if you want to be social, you can hop on the internet, right?
Exactly. And by the way, I have no shortage of things I get done.
Hmm.
Meetings constantly back to
I
back.
don't know what. We keep.
Constantly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Constantly back to back. So it's not like I'm not interacting with people. I'm
Yeah.
constantly interacting with people. It's just on the screen, which is cool because all I have to do is dress up on the top half of my body.
Exactly. Uh-huh. Since I've been doing this, like typically, you when you have to go out somewhere, you have to get dressed head to toe. And it's just like, okay, as long as I have a nice shirt on, whatever, I'm cool.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Now
but
more than ever, they just have to rely on our smarts, which I love. I love
for
that people rely on
sure.
our brain, you know?
Yeah, but I thank you so much for taking the time today. You're a person that I admire from afar. You've done so many great things in your career, and you're continuing to do, even more. So, for the people that may not know you, can you kind of explain your background? And then I think you and I initially connected through, was it? I think we connected through Walter Mosley.
That's
That's
my
who.
boy.
Yeah, so talk about, your background and
Yeah.
where most people know you from.
Yeah, so I guess so. Most recently, I was the CEO of True Religion. If you guys all remember the Heritage Denim brand,
Yeah.
which was living to see another day. So that was my most recent gig before I'm doing what I'm doing now, which I'll get to. And then before that, I was the CEO of American Apparel, which
Hmm.
hopefully everybody on here was a customer of American Apparel, I hope, because that was just my favorite brand to work for out of all the brands I've worked with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk about that if you want. But so we came in as part of the group that was replacing Dove Charney, the open and notorious Dove Charney, about
Yeah.
whom there have been many newspaper articles about all of the
Okay.
craziness that happened there. So we
Yeah.
came in as the group to replace him. So I was the CEO there when we ultimately sold it to Gildan, which is probably the label on the back of your shirt right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All over the place, right?
Yeah. And before that, I'm actually a recovering lawyer because before that, I was a partner at the biggest law firm in the world, which is called Jones Day. And I was a mergers and acquisitions lawyer. So I ran the mergers and acquisitions group for California.
Okay.
And that just means I was buying and selling companies the whole time. So I'm sort of a deal junkie. And, and then right now, I'm sort of semi-retired, believe it or not. And I sit on
Never. Never.
I'm old. I'm an old lady.
No, no, no.
And I sit on public company boards mostly, which is, just sort of a once a quarter gig. And every once in a while, I'll act as an executive in residence for a
Okay.
brand I really love, which I'm doing now. And Walter and I, we know each other because he represents all kinds of incredible influencers and models. And so when I was the CEO at True Religion, that's how he and I came to be connected.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it was Tory Bricks that he was representing, and we did we did a whole TV show with her. So he helped.
Yeah, and she did a lot of campaigns and ads and things like that as well.
I loved her. Oh, I loved working with her. Yeah.
Yeah, and talk about why you say American Apparel was one of your favorite brands and kind of.
Yeah, I mean, for me, American Apparel wasn't just a clothing brand. It was really a call to action. I mean,
Okay.
besides all of the things that the CEO and founder did, I mean, separate and apart from that, the company stood for female empowerment. We never used quote unquote real models. We used people that we would pull off the street.
Yeah.
We didn't airbrush. We didn't Photoshop. If you had wrinkles, if you had gray hair, if you had cellulite, if you didn't have big boobs, sorry, I said boobs on your IG live.
Oh, that's fine. That's completely fine. That's completely fine.
But
You talk about what you want to talk about. This is your place. This is your space here.
but it was we took everybody and we just celebrated the female forum, and we were really pro LGBTQA. We had a long-standing philanthropic relationship with HRC, and then everything was made not just in the US but here in Los Angeles, which is where I'm based.
Okay, and where are you from originally? I was going to ask you that too.
I'm born and raised in LA. I'm a unicorn. I'm like,
Yeah, I know. Everybody you meet is from somewhere else, or
everybody. And I'm scared with all this COVID stuff. We're going to get a bunch of new people moving here because, the weather, and it's not so crowded like New York. The traffic is going to be even worse when this thing lifts.
Yeah, and people complain about the traffic in LA so much, but I feel like it never bothers me when I'm out there. It's like that's when I can get my phone calls in because I'm not ever talking to people. You're on the phone, So I always try to be productive when I'm actually, I listen to podcasts, things that I wouldn't do when I'm just sitting, somewhere else or interacting with people.
Okay, that's true, but that gets old real quick. Okay,
but the one funny thing I will say about the traffic there versus the traffic like in Dallas where I'm at is like if it's a 30-minute drive in LA, it might be 2 miles down the road, and if it's a 30-minute drive here, we kind of say a mile a minute. So it really is 30 minutes or 30 miles away or whatever. Versus LA, it's like 2 miles. Okay, cool. I'll be there in a minute. Like, no, it's going to take you 45 minutes.
Oh, no. You got to plan your whole day around your commute. And there are some things, there's places that you won't do business because of the commute just to get there. And there's even like, if I was single, I'm married, but when you're single, actually the geography of the person where they live really determines whether you're going to date them. Like, if you're east of the 405 and you're west of the 405, you're probably not going to be dating each other.
Yeah. when you say 25-mile radius, like at the most, like, but
25 miles would be a lot. I'm talking.
Yeah, that'd be a lot in Dallas. That kind of works, but in LA, that'd never work. So how did you get into fashion? Is that one of your loves, or did it just so happen that you ended up with two big brands? Because I know you're not into fashion anymore, technically, or the boards that you're on anyway.
Yeah, sort of. You're right. I'm diversifying my industries a little bit, although I continue to work with fashion brands on a consulting basis. I love fashion. As you can see, it's like, I love it. I love this kind of stuff. I just sort of fell into it. I had been industry agnostic when I was a practicing lawyer. I had done deals in just a huge smattering of industries, but I was recruited to join American Apparel, not because I had a fashion expertise, but because the crisis they were going through, they were having a liquidity crisis. So they had lost over $300 million in the previous 5 years before I got there. They needed help there, which I could help with because I have the business
background.
And they were having a culture crisis because of what it was alleged that Dove Charney had done there. And I was very good with that because I had worked in and around corporate culture. Obviously, having put deals together, you have to know corporate culture. And I was in the boardroom. So it wasn't my fashion expertise. But once I got there, I realized that my lifelong love of fashion actually had given me a particular ability to be really skilled in that industry.
Okay.
So I just sort of built it from there, and then when you do something in one industry, people tend to
then they bring you over. So did the True Religion, did they bring you over after that, or kind of how long were you at both?
Yeah, so I was at American Apparel for about 3 years before I sold it, and the way that I got to True Religion is actually kind of fun. I had taken that company private. It had obviously been publicly traded, and I took it private, and we went private with Goldman Sachs. So once I sold it for Goldman Sachs and they came out with a really nice deal, they said, oh, you know what? We actually own True Religion also. And we'd love for you just to come over and sit on the board. So I just started out on the board.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was happy to do it. Like I said, I was semi-retired. I'm like, board seat, cool. You barely have to work. You get paid nice money. And then about 1 year into sitting on the board, they said, yeah, you know what? We're going to part ways with the CEO, and we'd like for you to drop in as the CEO. And you don't say no to that. You never.
Of course not. Right. Because you never know what other deals they're going to have for you in the future as well, right?
Exactly. And I've gotten a couple other boards based on that relationship. So exactly. You're totally right about that.
Well, yeah. And while you were there, how long were you at True Religion?
About a year.
Okay, yeah, but it would seem like you made such a great impact while you were there because, I used to hear a lot about it, the different deals that you would do and working with the different influencers and things like that. It seemed like you did a great job for True Religion.
Yeah, I felt like the brand had always been a favorite of the culture, and I felt like but the marketing wasn't particularly targeted in that way, and so I wanted to make the marketing more, targeted towards people who were actually buying the clothes. I wanted to bring
Yeah,
models in that reflected diverse body types rather than just sort of the tall skinnies. I did a lot of work in that area. Yeah, and
yeah,
you saw even in my relationships with Walter, I really tried to diversify the influencers we were working with, just
yeah,
to not just modernize the company, but also bring it more into focus with the actual customer, that
yeah.
really still loved the brand. So yeah, and again, True Religion is like American Apparel. True Religion is that rare fashion company that's headquartered here in Los Angeles. We don't New York kicks all of those normally.
Yeah, for sure.
So I
And
love it as an LA person.
gotcha. And so, talk about some of the things that you're doing now, because obviously the pandemic has affected some of that. But I know you're the type of person that you know how to adapt and change and stay motivated and kind of work through that. So, talk about some of the things that you're doing now.
I'm That's the crazy part. I'm busier now than I was before this thing broke. I mean, I look at these women on Instagram, they're all in loungewear and they're drinking their wine, they're quarantinis, wherever. I'm like, when do I get to do that?
Yeah.
I got really busy once this thing started because, my business is a lot of retail and a lot of retail apocalypse. See, there was already a crisis happening in the retail industry, as you well
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah,
And so
because
this
so many things are online now, right?
Exactly. And this just just put accelerant on the fire, basically. So,
Hmm.
and even companies that had been healthy before this hit, they're now in crisis. So immediately I got a rush of calls to work on consulting projects with retail companies, particularly apparel companies, to help them make the transition from, just by way of background, most retail companies, only about 25% of their revenue is generated online.
Online.
Most of
Yes.
their
Uh-huh.
revenue
Yeah.
is generated.
Especially, and it's crazy, but it's like that's the way of the future, and people know it's coming and knew it was coming, but they still were not quite prepared for it. This kind of forces brands and the brands that were already online, that kind of helps them, become to the forefront. Whereas,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head precisely. And part of the way that you have to help people sort of, if they're going to amp up to 50, 75% of their business being generated online, well, they have to have a streamlined state of the art econ platform, but they also have to have a supply chain that takes out the cost so you don't have such a low margin. That's the big problem with ecom normally is the margin is
yeah.
really tight because, you got it shipping and all of that.
Hmm.
So I immediately had to help a bunch of retailers understand how to make that dramatic shift to e-com. I had to help them understand what brick and mortar is probably going to look like post opening, in terms
Uh-huh.
of you're not going to want to go in and try clothes on. So you're going to want to have
Uh-uh.
the clothes sanitized every time somebody tries it on, or you're going to want to invest in AI and AR technology to try things on.
Where people can kind of see with their body types and things like
Yeah.
that, how things will look. Yeah.
Yeah, and then staggered entry into store and all that. So I did a lot of that work, continue to do that work. I also I sit on 3 boards, 2 public company cannabis boards, just fell into the cannabis industry, didn't particularly try to do that. And
Uh-huh.
one board that I'll announce in June, which is a big parent company that owns all the big dating apps, which is kind of
Yeah.
fun. I've
Yeah.
never used any of those, so that'll be sort of fun. And I'm doing an executive gig with a really cool performance marketing firm called Bounce X, which they've just
Okay.
released to Wonderkin. So they do, what performance marketing is, but
Right.
sort of one example is abandoned cart technology, where if you go visit a website and you leave, you've put something in your cart or you've just sort of
Yeah.
shopped around and didn't buy, they'll grab you. They'll reach out and send an ad, or they'll send
Uh-huh.
you a
Yeah.
SMS.
And which are and they're really effective because sometimes we get busy, we may be looking at a site and then we get a phone call, we may go away, we may be making figuring out if we want to actually get the product or not, and that kind of reminds you like, yeah, you didn't look at it, like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and buy that. Yeah.
That's supposed to work.
Especially right now, with
Yeah.
because people are trying to get you in with with different sales tactics, but it's like a balance on being too pushy and not understanding where your consumers are right now. It's like a balancing act almost.
I've been trying to advise all my retail clients, don't be so predominantly transactional with your customers.
Yes.
So, you know what I'm saying? Don't always be coming at them with, I've got something for you to buy and it's 70% off in here and just click through and buy it. You got to come to them with a more 360-degree relationship now. Otherwise, they're just going to be turned off and they're going to go elsewhere. So it's like you
Yeah.
have to provide content to your customer. You have to provide a different way for them to experience your product. And you have to basically say, I've made this product or I'm providing this service that's
Yeah.
tailor-made, curated for your lifestyle now. I'm not
Yeah.
pushing it on you. I'm helping you. So
And
you
and
have
it goes back to one of my favorite books is Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling,
mm,
and how you're supposed to sell on the benefits and not on the features. So
yeah,
if I know you want to buy a car, you've mentioned that you have a husband and kids, so I'm going to talk to you about gas mileage and the safety and different things like that. Except for otherwise saying, unless I know additional information about you and saying, oh, this car goes 100 miles an hour, it's this color. Like, yeah, that's cool, but that doesn't really fit my lifestyle, right? I know
exactly.
you. I know you're in traffic all the time, so you need something that has a good air conditioner, and it's
Yeah.
like just different things that are going to appeal to you, right?
Exactly. I'm not just trying to push something on you. I want to make your life better. And it's not
Exactly.
about help me out and buy something I've put on sale because I can't get rid of it. It's
Yeah, and which it seems like right now, because every day it's like when the 40% off sale ends, now we got a 50% off, and it's like I should have just waited a week.
well, and
Right.
that's a problem you just hit on, is that retailers have this issue where they've trained their customer to respond to promotions. And
Yeah.
hey Faith, how are you? Oh, that's my
Yeah.
girl.
Okay.
Um,
Hey, Faith.
Shut up,
Hey,
Faith.
Anthony. I got you on in a second, Anthony.
But that's the problem, is if you train a promotional customer, they will never again buy anything full price from you because they know in a couple weeks it's going to be 70% off.
That's how I am with Aldo. Like
Mm.
Aldo, I like some of their shoes at times, but I'm like I'm never paying full price for any of their shoes. I'm just gonna wait till they're half off or two for the price, and then just buy two pair then.
Yeah, it's a nightmare, and that's why I actually think that the big winners in the coming out of this in the retail space are
Hmm.
going to be the luxury brands, the uber luxury brands, the LVMHs and Chanels of the world, and everybody that goes in that stratosphere,
It's
because
gonna be
they've
fewer
never.
of them now.
Hmm?
It's gonna be fewer of their the things that they have out.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
think.
was thinking about the same thing in my event and marketing industry.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that they've never been promotional, and their customer still has the same spending ability that they had before, because their customer, for the most part, isn't going to be hit on their day-to-day ability to spend or their day-to-day
Right.
wallet, right? Oh,
Hmm.
their stock portfolio might have dropped a couple of million, but that doesn't impact their ability or their desire to go buy a Chanel bag today, right?
Right. Uh huh.
So they'll continue not to expect sales, and they'll migrate pretty nicely to an econ business. Sure, there's still going to be the flagship stores because those places are
Yeah.
always going to want to provide a flagship experience. But I feel
Yeah.
like those retailers have the money to invest to make a really beautiful ecom experience that's curated with personal
Hmm.
shopping, and they're going to win. They will win big time
Yeah.
in all of this.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same thing about on the event side. So I do a lot of events, and
Mm,
so the general events are probably going to go down for sure. Because if you're
yeah,
just trying to pack somebody into a place, then that's obviously going to go down. But like,
yeah,
say like a place like the Soho House, they're already super exclusive anyway. So the people that do decide to go out, and they're going to pay a premium to keep more people away.
for
So
sure.
they won't mind paying more for an event because they know it's going to be controlled. There aren't going to be a lot of people there.
And exclusive. I flip both ways on Soho. So I'm a member at Soho, and
Yeah.
what I love what they're doing right now is they obviously couldn't return everyone's membership fees to them because they take that all at the beginning, and it's too much. And I wasn't mad
Right.
about that. But they
Hmm.
converted huge portions of what we had already paid in to what they're calling Soho Bucks or Soho Rewards or something.
Yeah.
And I mean a lot. I mean, and then they have a whole website with product and service, even box, like you can order cocktail mixes and stuff, boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, I went on and ordered like a whole new fret bedding set with the bucks they give you. Like,
Yeah.
like I just got a whole free set of fret sheets for gosh.
Right, and obviously that's appealing to you because you're like, I can't go anyway, and I'm not going right now, so I
Yeah.
might as well get something else, right?
Right. And then, but I think on the flip side, the thing with Soho House is, I mean, those places can get really crowded, and the whole purpose of Soho House is to socially gather.
Yeah.
I do worry because you can't do it like I belong to Equinox also, and I know that they're going to do staggered entry when they open back up.
Mm-hmm.
I think those people will be fine at Equinox, but I think Soho House members aren't going to like staggered entry too much. They're going to want to come when they want to come,
Yeah, because obviously I paid this. I want to get in. There's a reason I paid for this membership is so I can have access when I need access. And yeah, it's crazy.
I'm
Yeah,
worried about them. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I have to get to my other guests as well.
Yeah.
But once again, I thank you so much for taking the time today. Is there anybody or anything you need to shout out? Tell people to, anything like that before you get out of here?
Yeah, I do 2 shows, one of which is on hiatus right now, but it's called What's Your Water, but it's filmed and produced at Dame Dash Studios. So we've got a lot of good content.
I love Dame. Yep.
Dame's amazing.
Dame's amazing. Right there in Burbank.
Hey, Laura, how you doing? Hey, that's Adam 22's publicist. I just saw her join. So I do that, and that'll come back on after all this is over. But in the meantime, if you go to the link in my Instagram bio and you click over to my YouTube channel, I've got another series that I do called From the Office of the CEO.
Okay.
And for anybody who watches it, they know these are little 10 to 15 minute snippets of, my top tips on it's career advice, it's business advice, it's even retail advice. So I give just really short, little easy bite-sized snippets of advice in terms of the areas that I have expertise on. So if you guys want to head on over and watch that in the meantime before What's Your Water comes on, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I will be in touch with you soon. I know we've been meaning to meet up and talk about different things. So maybe we'll set up a Zoom call soon so we can see how we can work together on some things.
I love what you do. I admire you from afar also, and really from afar now. But thank you so much for having me on. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much. And you have a nice day.
All right, you too.
Okay. Bye.
See you later.